Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. My name is Heather. I'm a homeschooling mom of 3 kids, elementary and high school age. I help you implement systems and strategies in order to overcome the chaos and cultivate simplicity in your home and homeschool. Today, I'm really excited to be joining in with a collab with Annalisa from Creative, Curious Learning and Living, all about what I have been reading lately. I will leave a link for the playlist in the description box as well as a link to her channel so you can check her out. I have been in a reading slump. If you saw my my reading update from last month, I definitely have been in a bit of a reading slump. Part of the reason I know is because our interlibrary loan was not going on this past summer because there was a contract dispute. I've talked about that in several of my videos, so we couldn't request books. And while our library has a lot of great books, they were not books that I was really all that excited about reading at the moment, so it is what it is. But I'm going to share some of the homeschool books that we've been reading lately, as well as some of the personal reading that I've been doing, both just homeschool related as well as personal. So the first book that I have is Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. I have read several of her books this year and definitely have enjoyed them. This one was okay for me. I did not like the characters as much as I have in previous books, but it was a good book and I enjoyed it. It was not a 5-star read, as many people I follow on Bookstagram and Booktube have given it, but I did give it 4 stars. I thought it was a good book. The next book was Happy Place by Emily Henry, and again, this was a 4-star read for me. I really like Emily Henry's books, but I think it was Book Lovers was my favorite by her. I enjoy them. I think they're fun, easy reads and keep me entertained. So that was the next book that I read. And then I finally did read Zodiac Academy, the first book in the Zodiac Academy series, which so many people have recommended to me over the years, and I finally read it. I started listening to it because I just couldn't get into the book reading it. But when I started listening to it, it was much better. And so I listened to probably the first third, and then I read the rest on my Kindle, and it was good. I do plan to continue with the series. I gave it 4 stars. It's definitely a more adult book and not everybody's cup of tea, but it was pretty good. Some of it was a little like, are you sure? But overall, it was an enjoyable read for me. So now I'm going to talk about some of the other books that I've been reading that are more nonfiction based. The first is Rhythms of Renewal. I've talked about this book a lot. This is by Rebecca Lyons. I first read this book when it came out back in 2019, loved everything that she talked about, and this has been a big part of my Rhythms of Renewal goal for 2024. I am in the last section for the last quarter of the year, which is the Create section, and I have just finished reading that section, and I'm very excited about some of the ideas that I have for the fall and also a continuation into 2025. I have felt this big pull towards hobbies and recreation, although I don't really like recreation as a category itself, but hobbies and more enjoyable things that aren't productivity based or homeschool based. Not that homeschool based things are bad. I actually love homeschool research. I love homeschool curriculum. It's why I am a homeschool coach. But I have wanted to do some of the things that I haven't really done since we moved to this house in 2020, which are things like knitting and things like sewing and scrapbooking and things that I used to do a lot of, but fell out of habit with when we moved to this new house and COVID and all of the other craziness that has just happened over the past few years. And I want to get back to that. I want to be writing for enjoyment. I have been blogging. I've mentioned this a few times. I've been blogging in the public sphere since 2001, which makes me an antique dinosaur. But I started my business in 2011 as Townsend House. I used to have a regular writing practice of writing every morning, and then I fell out of that practice and I miss it. And so I actually did just post a blog post recently for the first time in several months. I'll leave that linked in the description box. It is not a blog post on how to do anything. It's more just a stream of consciousness, kind of how I'm feeling about things and some of my ideas for the season ahead and things like that. So if you're interested in that type of content, I will leave that link in the description box for you. I definitely recommend this book. If you are looking for help with rest and restoring your spirit and just feeling better overall, putting rhythms in place that help you to just be a better person, a better mom, I definitely recommend this. I love this book so much. The next book that I have been reading is this Home Ec for Everyone, and this is one of the personal development books that I'm doing with my kids this year. We started doing personal development a few years ago, maybe back in 2019, 2020 is when I started doing more personal development books with my older two kids. This is kind of mainly for my high schoolers, but Lucy can join in, especially with the cooking and the baking. She loves to do that kind of stuff. So this is the next book that I've been reading. This is part of a life skills class that I saw, oh gosh, I can't remember her channel now, but I will leave her linked below. This is the book that she was planning on using as one of the reference books for that life skills class. I don't need that life skills class, but I really like the idea of the book. And so we're just going through this a little bit at a time. Definitely recommend it. It has, you know, cooking, cleaning, sewing, laundry, all the domestic arts, life skills, all kinds of stuff, and they're broken down into very manageable little chunks. So definitely recommend if this is something that you are interested in for your older kids, or maybe down the line for your younger ones as well. The next book that I have been reading is Getting Things Done by David Allen. I actually finished this past summer, but I have been revisiting it a lot because we have been going through a workshop in my membership community all about master to-do lists and how to use a brain dump journal and reducing the mental load and how to organize your thoughts. I definitely recommend this book. However, it is very dry, and if that is not your cup of tea, I do have another book that I'm going to talk about in just a second. Listening to this on audio is helpful if you struggle getting through organizational content, but there are a lot of great tips in this book. I definitely recommend it. But if that is not your cup of tea, this one might be right up your alley. Getting Things Done for Teens. Obviously, this book is written for teens, to teens. The examples and ways to organize your thoughts and such are more geared towards high schoolers and not towards adults. So you will have to take those examples and then translate them for your own life. But we are reading this in our homeschool as a personal development book for my kids. It's part of their personal development, I don't know, course for the year. I don't give them credit for this. It's just, we read it together, we discuss it, it's a good time. I have always found value in teaching executive level skills to my kids, things like time management, things like planning, things like goal setting and creating action plans for your goals. I think that that is really valuable information that unfortunately doesn't get taught all that often. It's stuff that my type A brain really gravitated towards and was able to make sense of early on. I've always been great at scheduling and figuring out the best, most efficient way to do things for myself, for my own benefit. And I want my kids to have those skills, but if they do not have those skills automatically, they need to be taught. And most kids do not have those skills automatically. So this is the next book that we're reading. We're not finished with it, but I have read through it myself and definitely recommend if you have high schoolers and you are looking for some personal development, time management type books, this is really good. I actually have a video on the personal development books that we're using this year, as well as books that we've used in the past. I will leave that linked in the description box if you're interested in checking it out. I do have a couple of resources for the younger set, but my youngest is in 4th grade, but I'm mainly focusing on my high schoolers, and so this is for high school, obviously for teens. The next book that I recently finished, and I did talk about this in another book update video, is this Hope for Your Homeschool. This just came out in the past several months, I think maybe this summer, by September McCarthy, and it goes through from the beginning of her homeschool journey right through graduating her seniors from high school, her homeschool high school, and there aren't a lot of books or resources for homeschool high schoolers. not that there aren't a lot of homeschool high schoolers out there, but I think that as your kids get into high school, oftentimes you don't want to share as much information about them, or people aren't as interested in continuing homeschooling after middle school and they end up sending their kids back to public school or in some sort of university model where they're mainly going to school outside of the house and getting all of their classes, but then doing work at home on the off days. So I really liked this book. I thought it was very encouraging and definitely recommend if you are at any stage in homeschooling and you're kind of looking at what's coming up, what is the next step for us. So I've been thinking a lot about this because Emma is technically in her last year of homeschool. I've said this in many videos, only needs an English credit to graduate. She has her full load of classes already to enter college. She's not sure if she wants to go to college yet. She is a year earlier than most kids her age. So I'm just kind of along for the ride and trying to figure out what's next. She will be my first homeschool graduate. We started so long ago, back in 2010, I think was when I started preschool with her. And so it has been a journey, and I have seen a lot of people that have seniors, they're graduating their first homeschooler this year, and there's a lot of emotions. I don't have those emotions yet, and I think maybe that's partly because we don't know what's next. We do have some ideas. Emma's very interested in the author conservatory and writing. Her big focus this year is on finishing a novel and doing more writing. That's what she wants to do. She wants to be an author, and she has considered library science and or accounting if she does go the college route. But we are still in the planning stages, and I don't feel really all that rushed about it. So definitely recommend this book. Now, some of the other books that we are reading with Lucy, my youngest, we are reading Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nim. I have read this both to Emma and Jack when they were younger as well, and this time I am going through it with Lucy and she's enjoying it. So this is definitely a fun book. There is a movie of this book, Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nim. It is not at all the same as the book. I remember when we watched it with my older kids, and we were like, wait a second, that has nothing to do with this book at all. But we really enjoy this book. If you're looking for something for elementary age kids for a read aloud, this is a fun one. Then for my high schoolers, we just started a few weeks ago the Government Economics and Personal Finance course from Guest Hollow, and there is a lot of reading. I have not finished any of the books except for one, which is Whatever Happened to Penny Candy, and this is by Richard Mayberry. This is part of the Uncle Eric series. If you watched any of my homeschool curriculum review videos from last year, you will know that I was raving about the Uncle Eric books, World War I and World War II. So informative and interesting, and ideas that I had never considered, really. This book, however, when I was reading it, my kids, well, Jack especially, was saying, gosh, Mom, it sounds exactly like all of the things you're always saying. So I felt really validated in the fact that my economics background is really shining this year. I was an econ major in college, and so economics, personal finance, accounting, budgets, financial policy, fiscal policy, government spending. I am all in on all of those topics, but this is a really good book. Definitely recommend. Then there are two online books. The first is the government textbook from this Guest Hollow course. Is an online textbook, and it has been edited by Guest Hollow, I believe, and essentially there are YouTube videos throughout the textbook, which just helps give a little bit extra understanding of whatever topic we are reading about. And so I have been reading the spine with my kids. I think that it is so fun for me as a homeschool parent to sit down and read this content and discuss it with my kids. That engagement with my kids about whatever subject we're studying for high school has been one of the best ways to homeschool, in my opinion, because we are discussing it, we are understanding everybody's different viewpoints. We are debating different areas that we are learning about, forming our own opinions. It's really fun for me to see my kids develop their own viewpoints on certain things, see the differences and the similarities between my husband and I and my kids and their different ideas surrounding different topics. I absolutely love it. So that is the first book. And then the second book is, oh, what is the title? I should have written it down. I think it's called The Young Economist, and this is not a required reading for this course, but I love, like I said, I was an econ major, and so I love all of this content, and we're not reading it necessarily as fast as we should be because there's a lot of discussion about certain things around this particular book, and there's no workbook activities related to this book, so I can take a little bit more time to go through it with my kids. It's very highbrow, high level, so if you don't have kids that are interested in economics or finance related fields, it probably doesn't need to be part of this course for you. Jack, I think, kind of checks out, but Emma really engages, and I think that's more because she's interested in business and all of those types of things. So that is also a good book, but it is maybe a little bit harder for younger high schoolers to digest, I would say. The next book that we are reading that we're not finished with is The People's Guide to the United States Constitution. Really enjoying this. Emma did take constitutional literacy a couple of years ago, and we have done a lot with US history and understanding the Constitution over the many years. We use Sunlight primarily as our curriculum, and they are literature-based, and it has a huge history focus. So we have read a lot about it, but definitely enjoying this book. And then this one little reference book, and there are actually other ones in this series that I think I might get, is The Infographic Guide to American Government and the Constitution. And I think there are several of these. I happened to purchase this one off of Amazon, but I think that they are free if you subscribe to Kindle Unlimited, but I only have a Kindle Paperwhite. I don't have like a tablet, so I just like books in physical form, but this is really a great representation of government, and it's pretty easy to digest, little facts of information in here, so definitely recommend that one as well. So those are the books that I've been reading lately, all good ones. I think that overall I'm pleased with the books that we've been reading in our homeschool. I wish that I had some more fiction to read, but in all honesty, I don't have as much time to read fiction once we get started with our school year, which I noticed when I looked in my book journal trying to figure out what I was going to talk about in this video, and I had read 2 books since my last update. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Remember to check out the playlist in the description box below. If you would like more help and encouragement around homeschooling and home management and goals, I would love for you to come check out my membership community. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.